Yo, what's good, guys? You're listening to another episode of Redefine Gospel Sounds with myself, Success. Hope you guys are good. Hope you guys are well. Hope you guys are blessed. Hope you guys are happy. Enjoying the last bit of the nice weather that we have before it gets, a little bit cold because temperature's already dropping. I know you guys like updates from me. So today, on the day of recording, it's actually a really good day. It's my sister's 15th birthday, so happy birthday to her. And my brother's also taking his 11 plus today. So, I mean, it's actually done. He's done. So I know he's done well. He's smashed it. So yeah, big day in my household. But it's not about me. It is about our guest today. It's our first duo, which I'm super excited about, amongst many other things. And as they say, three is a crowd. But in a good sense this time. And I just can't wait for the gems that are going to be dropped. And these are people with super amounts of experience. So just to sit in and hear for myself, like if I could, I wouldn't even speak. I would just listen to these guys, just share what they're going to share. And I am actually, for the first time, I'm going to let both of the guests announce themselves. And we're going to go from there. So Loretta, if you'd like to start.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having us.
No worries.
I'm Loretta Andrews. I'm an artist manager and also co-founder along with Bianca of I Am Independent, which resources and supports independent music artists. We also run a podcast. I've done some radio in the past, performing myself as well. But yeah, these days my main hats are artist manager and running I Am Independent.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, I'm Bianca Rose, and I am a singer-songwriter and co-found I Am Independent with Loretta. I think that's it. You said you described I Am Independent in a nutshell, so I'm sure we're going to go more in depth.
Yeah. And then in terms of you guys, how do you guys know each other? We're going to take it back to the first time you guys met. Would you guys like to reconstruct that for us? If you need to colour in any versions, you can. But if you remember well enough, that is.
That's why we both did the same face.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember the actual first time, but it would have been at a gig or something like that, because I met you when you was doing music. You was in a band.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we met at a gig
I
somewhere.
do remember. So I was in a band with my twin sister,
Oh.
and we used to kind of do the London gig circuit. And a few times we saw Bianca performing, and I just thought she was amazing. But the weird thing was, well, not weird, but I don't know if you get this, but when you see someone, before you've even spoken to them, I was like, she's a Christian.
Wow.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I just knew that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, I
after
remember.
we even spoke a few times, and when you're like, how do you bring up, by the way?
Yeah.
Do you love Jesus? And I can't remember how it came, because it's quite a while afterwards that we knew each other and made that real connection.
No, I think you asked me at a gig, like, are you a Christian or something like that?
Yeah, it's something because sometimes you could just tell, and it wasn't anything blatant
Yeah.
that she said. It was how she carried herself and how she was, and we became friends, and we actually had a prayer group with some girlfriends that we for many years, and then we've just our friendship's long now, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it
when
is.
would that have been?
I mean, I've been married for 12 years, and it's before then. I hadn't even met my husband then, remember? So it's like 15 years, maybe 16?
At least
At
that.
least, yeah.
Damn.
So we were friends for many years before we actually started
Yeah.
working together as artist and manager, and then as I'm Independent. Our friendship went long time before that.
Yeah. Even off that, does being friends changed how you would usually manage somebody then? Or are you friends with all the people that you manage?
That's actually a really good question, because more than one person, when I started management, very seriously said to me, never manage your friends. Do not manage your friends.
Why did he say that's
mainly because they said it would ruin the friendships and you wouldn't be able to be honest, and they just said it will get really messy. Do not advise it. And I thought, okay, that actually sounds like quite good advice. And because most of my friends were artists, just because of the lifestyle that I was in. And I had an early experience that went quite wrong with someone who I wouldn't say was particularly a friend, but it did make me think about that. And then my first artist I started to work with, aside from that artist, was Joshua Luke Smith, and I didn't know him then. But we have become firm friends since, to the extent that I'm his daughter's godmother.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's, friends, it's family. But B was the first person that I was actually friends with before, when we started working together. And that voice came into my head that a few people had told me. And I was worried about it, but it's just never been an issue. To me, and I think it's because there's different styles of management. And I am very clear on who I'm meant to work with. From, in fact, that early experience that went wrong was the moment when I knew what I needed to look for connection in terms of who I work with.
Yeah.
And so to me, the friendship we have literally strengthens that. Also, the type of person she is. We're both very honest and direct people, which really helps as well. So for me, for how I manage, it's just all of my artists are my friends. All of them would be in my home and I'd be in their home. I know their families. Yeah. But I do know managers who that's a rule for them. They do not let that line be crossed. But it's literally never been an issue, has it?
No, I don't think it has. I think there's, as you say, there's a base level of honesty. And also there's a trust there, I think there's an integrity there where I know that you're going to do things in a certain way because of who you are. So then I trust that. And I think there's that mutual trust of, if there's an issue, that I'm going to find a way to say, I know that you are. I think the trust piece and the integrity piece, because those are there and we know that they're, it helps the business side of things.
And I'm quite proud of the way that we quite seamlessly go from friendship to manager. It's never like, oh, our friendship's turned into management now and we don't know how to friend. We can switch like that. We don't even have a meeting and we'll, talk the business stuff and all of that. And then the next minute we're talking about our kids and our personal lives. It's very easy. It's never felt like gear switching, really, has it?
Not at all. Not at all. I think it is unusual how that works.
Lots of managers say to me it's quite unusual.
Yeah. But it's very normal for us.
Yeah. Even on that, staying with you, what dictates rather who you choose to work with in terms of other songwriters and producers? Are there any things that are must-haves, for want of a better phrase, in terms of who you choose to work with and who you seek out?
Obviously, musically, talent-wise, that goes without saying. I think that's the first thing, really. If I connect with their work, and I'll be like, oh, I'd love to work with them. And then I think over time you realise kind of the wise thing to do is to do a short thing. So do a single, let's do a song, and then you see how that works. And then if it works and you're enjoying it, and the process was good and you came out with a good product, then you go, okay, I'd love to do more. So I think it's more of a creative decision, and then you see how it goes. I think you just take small steps. For me, that's how I do it.
And then Loretta, what governs, because you alluded earlier that there were set things that you had in terms of when deciding, to manage somebody. So are there any were there any practical things for you that govern who you kind of?
She gets asked all the time, literally every day.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm the next one. I'm +1.
I do get a lot of requests, and most of the time I know it's going to be a no, because I'm at full capacity now, and I really believe in the artists that I've got, and I want to give myself fully over to them. But I honestly believe I've got I believe the artists that I'm working with are very unique, and I've got a unique connection with them and their vision. I really understand them, and I'm genuinely a fan of everyone I work with. It's a privilege for me, and I can so clearly see their paths and where I want to get them to and where they want to get to. And a lot of the time, I don't have that with everyone. I love to encourage artists. I think everyone has the right to be an artist and to find success. And I want to help anyone in that, which is why I do a lot of consultancy and why we do I Am Independent. But in terms of where I really want to invest in people and seeing their dreams, it's the artists that I've got. I feel I've got a unique connection with them. I believe they're pioneers in what they're doing. I see something very special and unique in them, and that's very strong. And again, like I said, this very early example I had that went wrong. So many things. It's like in that experience, God was telling me, it's not this, it's this.
Yeah.
I'm a very gut person as well. Like I can really go on my gut, and most of the time it is right. To be honest. Every time I've ignored my gut, it's gone very wrong, even when on paper it looks, the opposite. And I know without a doubt in both feet with the artist that I'm working with. Yeah. So I wait till I feel that. And occasionally someone comes along that I feel something like that, and I might go part of the way with them, or not be as dismissive as I often am. And I don't mean dismissive of their art.
Yeah, but just being able to.
For me.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like, maybe this is one. Maybe this fits into the specific vision I have.
Yeah.
And an artist recently in the US, I walked some of the way with her with that.
Awesome.
And I think it was really right for the time that it was. Yeah. And we parted ways very well. Still great friends. And it wasn't to be in the long term, but it felt right for the time. So I think it's important for me to not be a closed shop. I can tend to be like that. I've got my people. This is it.
Yeah.
And still allow for God to go, hang on a minute, maybe there is something for you to do here.
Yeah.
But still being willing to hold everything loosely as well, if that ends up not being the case anymore.
Yeah. This is for both of you, but I'm gonna stick with you, Loretta. How, when you're working with people, how easy or hard is it for you to say no to people? So you've kind of have to turn down a lot of people when you manage them, but yeah, do you ever find it hard? Or
No.
She doesn't, but also I don't find it hard because I go, Loretta, can you just let this person know for me, please? Loretta does all the knowing. I don't find no's hard.
Yeah. Why?
Because part of having purpose is as much knowing what to say no to as it is about saying yes to.
Yeah.
Like entertaining a yes when it's so clearly a no and your gut knows it's a no is not fair on the other person or you. It's wasting everyone's time.
Yeah.
And there's a way of doing things, of course. Don't get me wrong. I'm not harsh. But I don't find it difficult to say no. Like even one of my artists, the joker amongst us, he was just like the other day, you telling me if Chance the Rapper came and asked you you're just going to say no? And he's so expecting me to go, oh no. And I was like, yeah, I'd say no.
Fair enough.
Like, are you joking? I was like, no, I know that wouldn't be a good fit for me. That's not it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't believe me, but yeah, I was really grateful for that early experience because it's very easy for us to imagine what we should be doing because it looks like a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially if it looks like a good idea to other people. But yeah, I think I've been around long enough to know that really going with your gut and doing what you're supposed to do, staying in your lane is success. What you're meant to do, not what somebody else is meant to do.
And the thing about it is that something might look good on the outside, but it's the work that you've got to do. And like once you've said yes to that, especially a management situation or relationship in that way, you've got to work with that for a certain amount of time, and it's the day-to-day life. And a lot of what your decision making always also is like, can I do this every day?
Yeah. And I don't. The thing I have to watch out for is just being quick to do that. And what I've learned now, with my age and wisdom, is to go to my close friends, to Bianca, when I'm not sure about something. I have no qualms about saying, B, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Like, what's your vibe? And she's very good at giving me looking from the outside. Yeah. So, I mean, younger me would have just done what I thought. I do seek counsel. It's a very short list in a circle, but I really trust their opinion. Yeah. And that's been invaluable to me making decisions. And sometimes it has been something I was going to say no to that after their counsel I will say yes, and vice versa. Yeah. I think that speaks to the importance as well of, making sure that
the people that you do have, that, you know, the advice obviously naturally that they're given is wise, and making sure that, because I think a lot of people get confused with the fact that, oh, because there's a lot of people in their circle, quite usually that's bad, because, you know, there's so many conflicting voices and so many things. But I would go out on a limb to guess that when you have had to ask for advice in those difficult moments, a lot of what your friends are saying are most likely in agreement, and that's probably helped you in some of the things that you said. So I think that's super, super important. And I also wanted to ask Bianca, how is it that you've seen the importance of having just having those close people that you are able to rely on in those moments where you might be feeling a bit 50-50?
I mean, I feel those 50-50 moments often. I think, like, personality-wise, I am a person who, I kind of know what I think. I'm a very gut person. I can, like Loretta, I feel like I know what the right thing or the wrong thing is to do off the bat. However, like my husband always says, like, you can be 80% right, but that 20% can be actually really important, even though it's a small amount. That particular part that you might not be able to see actually could inform a lot of your decision making. So I do quite rely on seeking out perspective, and even if the perspective is like a bit left field, that my husband thinks really differently from me, and I know you find it a little bit irritating, just because, like, you're not seeing all the things. But then he sees this other bit, and I'm like, oh, actually, now I really value that left field perspective, because sometimes it makes me pause, take time, and just hang there for a few days, hang there for a few weeks, don't make a decision, and it just lets things come to the surface. It lets emotions, you know, fade away. So I find it really important as I've gotten older to lean into counsel.
Yeah, that's awesome. We are going to segue into a little bit of a game, but it's not really a game, but it kind of is, in terms of the two of you. It's kind of like who's more likely to, but not really. You'll kind of see it. So firstly, I wanted to ask, who is the funnier out of the two of you? Or which one of you regards yourself as the funnier one?
She's hilarious, but in a very subtle way. She really makes me laugh. But sometimes it will be lost on everyone in the room. She can do a face or a gesture, and I know what she's thinking.
Yeah. We've got codes. We've got, like, you know, because we're usually thinking the same thing. That's also the thing as well. So it's funny because it's only funny to us. Yeah,
I've definitely got naughtier humour than her.
Okay.
She definitely would do a face like, "Law, I know what you're thinking, but please don't say that out loud."
Don't say it out. No, let's save that for later. Yeah.
Okay, next is, who is the more patient one?
That's actually quite a hard one.
I think in different ways.
Yeah.
I think that you're really, like, you can be really patient with people, and because you're really loyal, you can give, like, people or situations more time. I think I could be a bit more patient in terms of what I might say. I might wait a bit more to say the thing.
I was also thinking that you're much more meticulous with detail, like getting things right. So in that sense, she's more patient than me. So if you want something done well, then you ask B. She's gonna do it properly. There won't be any corner cutting, and I sometimes won't have the patience for a task that requires that.
You're gonna stick with a thing,
yeah,
until the wheels fall off.
Yes, probably.
No, but, like, you're not gonna give up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give up. So I don't know whether that's
patience on things, but also on people. Like, it's gonna take you a while to give up. Once you're done,
I'm done.
But it takes you a long time to get there. Yeah.
Loretta, I actually wanted to pick up on that. In terms of, you are more of perhaps a bigger picture person. I don't know if that's fair to say, but does that tie into, like, how good you are as, like, a manager just in general? Like, has that served you well, or can you see how that's fit in?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, I think the job of the manager is to see the big picture. There's so many moving parts, and the artist is so close to them. They're close to the most important and most precious and essential part of it all, which is the music itself. Like none of the other things are worth anything without that. And sometimes in music business, that can get lost because the other parts are so loud and so essential and so needed.
Yeah.
And I feel fiercely protective over the artist, and that I think it's such a gift that creatives offer to the world, and that we need to respect and revere that almost. So my job is to protect that and at the same time see the big picture for them sometimes when they can't, because they're so close to it, and because it's can be painful and vulnerable and all these sorts of emotions that an artist goes through when to give birth to their art. Then it's my job to see the bigger picture and the dreams that they dare to dream, to help to do a map towards them. So I definitely think, and my personality type is big picture thinking, which can sometimes not have time for the detail.
Yeah, I'm the same, to be fair. Yeah. Next is, who's more tired? Who is more likely to say, "Oh, I'm tired," or they're more likely to tire?
Yeah, I love a nap.
She loves to be at home.
Like to be at home, like to be cozy. I do find social situations can be draining as well. So there's only so much I can do before I'm done.
Having said that, she now runs.
Oh, I'm into the
she
running.
just dropped to me casually. Oh yeah, just run 5k.
Swear.
So you will not catch me doing that.
What got you into running?
Oh, sure. For most of my life, like I just don't like being out of breath. Like that's what I used to say. I don't want to be out of breath. That's not my portion.
Amen.
However, it was lockdown, and I just decided. I woke up one day and I decided I was going to exercise. Like for the first time in my life, I decided I'm going to exercise. And then so I had some weights and I started doing like little dumbbell workouts. And then the out of breath thing is not for me. So I was like, no, I just like weights. I just like, lifting weights because, you can take your rest between your sets and that. And then like last year, I started walking. I wanted to get my 10,000 steps. I said, I'm going to do that, committed every day. And then I was like, okay, I'm on the treadmill. Go on, just run for 30 seconds. 30 seconds, just 30 seconds. There's no pressure. I just started doing run, walk. And now I really like running.
I don't even recognise it. I don't know who this
is. I like running.
She don't know who that woman is.
Then I transitioned to outside and I just like running. Yesterday I went around, found a new park, did my little 5k.
That's when you'll know all the parks. Because I was even in pandemic. I was the same. Before I knew it, all the parks in my local area, I knew it like the back of my hand. It was cool. Awesome. But no, that's really cool.
What's your favourite park to run in?
I don't, as in my area, not like the big parks. I haven't ran in the big parks, but there's one that's like 3 minutes from my house, and it's really round, and I can just do different routes, and I love it. Yeah. I love it. So yeah. Next is, who is more likely to forget what they were saying in conversation?
Oh, I think that's me.
If it's a face, it's me. Like obviously, it's I forget.
Oh, do you forget faces? See, I forget the name. You do. I remember a face, but I will forget a name. Like, I've forgotten it. As soon as you told me, I've forgotten it.
I could be a bit like that as well. In terms of forget what you're saying halfway through.
Yeah, just halfway through, yeah.
Sometimes when we're like gonna do, like there'll be some days when we were gonna do our podcast and we're both parents. Yes. And like if the mum life has got to you, then sometimes we're like, you know what? I don't think I've got the strength to do this today. Yeah, and we're like, my brain's not working.
We'll set ourselves up for a podcast. We're like, shall we do this tomorrow? Yeah.
And then with that, who is more likely to say that they are hungry? Who's more likely to say, yeah, like, I fancy this, or like who is more hungry?
But neither of us really.
I really like food.
Would you consider yourself as a foodie?
Oh yeah. I am.
Yeah.
Have you got any particular favourites right now?
He's healthier than me though.
I just think that you think that. I think you think that I am.
Yeah, I have no restraint, so.
But just give me some Nigerian, give me some Jamaican, give me some Thai. Yeah. But then also, because I work out now, innit? So a protein bar and my whey protein and my BCAAs, I'm on it.
What are your particular favourites?
I just love food. I honestly do. When like I remember hearing this interview with Kylie Minogue or something, and she said, "Oh, this morning I had a croissant for the first time in 15 years."
What?
And I was like, girl, like life is not meant to be
it's
like
not.
At
that.
all.
Like food
That's
genuinely
mad.
brings me so much pleasure.
Yeah. same.
And
Yes.
yeah, I could go for most things. I just enjoy food. Yeah, I just, very eclectic taste. Just love food.
Love that. I hope you're hearing Esatofi, because our producer of this podcast doesn't like eating, likes to starve herself.
Doesn't like
She
eating.
just doesn't know.
Are you like
she seldom eats,
you
or she
eat to
forgets
live,
to
and you
eat.
don't live to eat. You're an eat to live person.
I do love food, like genuinely. Be surprised. You wouldn't think so because I don't eat, but I love food.
Is it just a necessity for you?
Yeah, like I just forget. Well, like, if I'm doing something, I think in my head, oh, I'll just eat later.
Yeah.
And then sometimes later doesn't happen.
Yeah, we have to beg her to eat. We'll be like, oh, what have you eaten? And she'll be like, Tang Fastics. And it's like, no, that is not
can never
sustenance.
forget to eat.
That
No.
can never be me. Literally.
Good. Come on, Julia.
Could never be me.
But no, that's cool. That's cool. We're gonna switch now to the whole independence kind of focus. And Bianca, I'll kind of start with you. What does being independent actually mean in the music business? Because a lot of people, it's such a, I found as a, I guess, consumer of music, that like it's such a buzzword. Oh, this person's independent. Oh, are they really independent? Or is a label yet? Like, so yeah, what does it really mean?
I mean, it can mean a lot of things, but I think ultimately you don't have sort of representation, or you have control of your music, and so a label doesn't have control. So when you make music, you're ultimately the one that is getting paid, and then you might have people who help you, members of your team, and you might collaborate with a label, but it's mostly on your terms. I think that's how I would define it.
Yeah, I mean, technically you own your masters.
Yeah.
So you may have a label, a licensing deal with artists' label services. You'd still really be cast as independent because you're still getting the lion's share. Whereas with any major label, they own your masters. They have to, people have to get permission from them, not you as the artist. And they're taking the 80%, you're taking the 20%, whereas that's normally flipped around, or at least 50-50 if you're independent.
And then now looking into, I guess, the podcast and the services and all that, like you guys had a boot camp and so many like great stuff. But do you want to now touch on, I guess, the podcast and just all the other stuff and why you guys felt that it was the right thing for you guys to do?
Well, B actually was her idea, so I'll let her answer.
Yeah, well, I think when I started doing music, there wasn't as much help for independent artists. If you're independent, you're just out in the wild west, just doing your thing. And I think I wanted to, and also being an artist, it is quite a me focused career. And so on a personal level, I wanted to like find a way to do music in a way that wasn't just about my own career, but then also I wanted to be a part of a solution where new artists weren't so alone, and it wasn't really it wasn't as hard for them to find out how to do their job. If you're a doctor, if you're in most other professions, you go to university, there are courses, there's community, there's places to learn how your craft, and you have support along the way. As a musician, yes, you can learn an instrument and you can learn some of the mechanics of being an artist, but doing the job, the day-to-day job, you're kind of figuring it out as you go. So I wanted to create something where if you're an independent artist and you wanted to know how to do what you do, you could come to I Am Independent and find answers to your questions. And Loretta felt the same way, and we decided to do it together. And so we started off creating sort of videos and content, sort of bringing in other artists and music industry members to share their knowledge and their experience. And that kind of evolved into a podcast. So we interview people and then we talk on any and all subjects, and issues around music artistry and business, and then we created a video course over lockdown. We were doing like these boot camps, getting artists together and sort of taking them through basics from sort of understanding why you want to be an artist, which is a big question, and PR and marketing and live, and then we sort of created a video course out of that so that people all over anywhere could access that information. In a nutshell.
Loretta, do you think that's is that a fair?
Yeah,
fair sum up?
absolutely. Yeah.
Over the last, let's say, 5 years, has it become easier to step out as an independent in the music space, or how have you guys seen things kind of like shift from a music business perspective? I'll start with you, Loretta.
For sure. Yeah, without a doubt. And that's for a few reasons. So in the introduction of streaming, like it or hate it, that is suddenly artists can have their music discovered. You don't have to rely on the gatekeepers of radio to have your music out there. Social media. So now you've got the same tools, albeit with bigger budgets. You're using exactly the same tools that major labels are using to promote artists. So you can do that yourself. There's examples of independent artists who have got successful careers that you can aspire to. So I would say it's the age of the independent artist. There's before, getting signed to a major label was kind of the holy grail that everybody wanted. Now there's artists who are genuinely choosing not to be signed to a label, choosing to be independent. I would say that decision is not necessarily cut and dry like that, depending on your genre and what success is for you.
Yeah.
It may be necessary to enter into a relationship with a major label, and that may be a means to an end. But yeah, there's been a huge influx of independent artists, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. And Bianca, what's it like? What was it like finding other independent artists in the space, and what's that been like as that journey's kind of progressed?
Sorry, for me as an artist, or
for you as an artist, sorry.
I mean, I think it's always good to not be doing your job alone, or to feel like you're going through the issues and all the things that come up and you're just like, this is just happening to me. So I think building community is helpful and has been helpful for me. It has been helpful to not be an island by force or by happenstance of just how it goes, just to be able to talk to other people. I think also in our sort of management crew, Loretta manages me, and there's three others, and I think it helps even just running closer to the guys as well, just seeing how they do things, the work ethic, the different choices that they make in their careers. I think it's helpful to be close enough to learn from people around you. And I think being independent, it's hard to be close to other artists in order to just like glean. So I think building that community has been helpful for me in my career. And there's cycles as an artist. You get the ups and the downs. You release, and then you're just like, you feel like you're in no man's land, and what am I going to do now? And it's just like it's just the journey. So, but seeing other people go through that journey, how they navigate it, what choices they make, it helps to keep you moving forward.
Even to follow up on that, have there been times where like you've regretted, I guess, your choice of being independent, sticking to it? Like, were there any times where you kind of like went back on yourself and thought, I'm not too sure?
Not being independent, but being an artist.
You could wait about how so, because obviously like,
I mean, it's hard. I mean, I think you choose. I've chosen to be an artist because I feel like I have a message, and I feel like I just feel like it's where I'm supposed to sort of interact with the world, and that's kind of the vehicle for which I do it. But it's not. It's a very, very difficult journey. And so I think you're always periodically reevaluating why you're here. Do you still want to be here? What's next? I think because it's just very hard. It's very hard to create a sustainable career. And there's just, it's an up and down journey emotionally as well. So I think you're always asking yourself questions and reevaluating, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And you learn to have less emotions, or I've learned, as I continue to come back around to the same thing.
Where's that balance then? Because at times, naturally, emotions will be good in terms of, letting you know how you're feeling and things like that. But how easy was it, or how hard was it rather, for you to kind of like find that balance in terms of like not being overly emotional and letting that kind of like take a disproportionate like charge in the decisions that you make?
And I think going through enough times, you become more accustomed, so you can kind of observe yourself from the outside, whereas it's not all encompassing before it being like I'm experiencing these emotions for the first time. Now, okay, you're coming at me again. I can observe it. I think faith and my relationship with God, and just having and praying and having that that place to offload those feelings, but also to get feedback and and just to get that comfort, get that feedback, get that word, and just to help you carry on. I think that's been incredibly helpful for me, just to continue to find purpose in the work. And it's not just coming from myself. It's not just like ambition, but there's purpose in what I'm doing. But yeah, I think if you're not learning from what you're going through, then there's something wrong. And I think just going through it many times, and deciding, okay, well, because I've had this whole feelings over the summer, like, what am I doing? But I didn't let it stop me from doing things, but I just kind of was working through the emotions. So, in times past, I might just like down tools. Well, let's just keep doing what I'm doing, but like work out what's going on inside and just keep moving forward. And then you just realize that it's a storm that's going to pass.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I'm going to pick up on your answer, and I'm going to flip it towards Loretta. And that it's a pretty big one, but just in terms of, where do you see God in what you do, in terms of like, how do you manage? Because it's probably not like the most obvious to people that might be listening or watching, but yeah, just in terms of you, like in your capacity, managing, but even in your former hats that you used to wear, so whether that be presenting, whether that be radio, whether that be whatever, how has that played out, and how does that help you on a practical level?
I've been asked this question before, and I kind of find it difficult, or rather, I don't find it difficult to answer, in that I almost don't get it, because for me, I just don't separate the two. Like, I don't, where I'm at with my relationship with God, it's so integral to who I am. I am who I am, everything I've been through, how I try and live my life, my outlook, the decisions I make, even everything I've said before, is because I know him and because I believe I'm here for a purpose. And my life's journey is about getting to be as close to what I believe he wants me to be, and to do that in my little corner with the people that I've been entrusted with around me. So I never feel like, oh, how does my faith apply to this? It's just, I hope it's integral with all of it. I'm at the stage where I can't really separate that. And possibly to some people on the outside, that might look like that's not God in that. But it just is to me. Like, I don't even necessarily sit down and pray. It's just my thoughts are my prayers, like the things I need to do. It's all, where the stage that I'm at in my faith walk now is, I want all of it to be authentic. So that maybe doesn't fit clearly into some pictures of faith, but it also doesn't possibly fit in clearly to some who have got no faith. I hope I'm the same in either, whatever setting I'm in. I hope I'm just present myself, and that's myself trying to be what and who I hope God wants me to be, and what he's trying to show me through the things in my life. I think everything has meaning. Every person I meet, every situation I have is all about getting closer to who he wants us to be and to live that out in this world. So I've got to the point where before it was very much early on in my faith was about these tools you put on and these things you do in order to be this thing or follow this faith. It's just all one to me now, rightly or wrongly. I wouldn't even know how to separate it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bianca, would you say that's something similar then in terms of your craft and how you kind of approach your music and songwriting and things like that?
Sorry, I got a dead leg.
It happens. It's gonna be me next.
No, I would say that to a large extent. I think like I'm a Christian first. I'm a child of God first, and then that's the foundation of my life. That's where my relationship with God is, where I find my identity, and then all the things that I do, He's in everything. So, and as a parent, like I parent from that place, and I'm a wife from that place, I'm a musician from that place, and I try and be a friend from that place, and be a human being, and be, a business owner from that place. So, like, it's everything. It's the small things and it's the big things. He's in all the things, and that's how I approach my things.
In terms of how that specifically feeds into the songwriting, do you ever find it hard, like striking a balance in terms of the message that you want to put out, and by extension, like what do you want people to feel when they like listen to and take in your music?
I write about life, and I write a lot of my songs feel like a documenting the times and the times in my life and the things that I'm seeing and the stuff I'm working through. So I want my music to be life-giving. I think a large part of my music is hopeful. Usually if you're a Christian, you can hear God, because like, as Loretta said, when she was at a gig, she's like, Christian. And I get that a lot. So if you know, is basically the T. I feel like my music isn't, I felt like I knew early on in my career that I wasn't making music for the church, because I think that music is for different people, different, your audience, you're speaking to different people. So, when I go to church, I know that the songs are for me to be able to connect with God. The music I make isn't that. Largely I do and I have made music that is congregational music for the church, but the music that I make isn't for the church. It's for people to be able to work out their stuff with, or to be able to see the beauty in life through, and to be able to ask questions with, or to have just some sort of perspective of like, I felt that, but I never knew how to say that.
Yeah.
That's kind of my mission with my music. Is to be able to people to have that place to be able to do those things.
With that, the theme that I've kind of got and what I like is the fact that it's like your faith and just how you guys go about like both your businesses is just intertwined, like it's just there, and I can definitely resonate. Like I think earlier on in my walk, I just kind of like what you were saying, Loretta, like I thought it was just like, here are things, and like you just do them and like you put them on, and like there you go, like ready to start the beat. But it's not really like that, I think. And as you kind of go along, all these things like flow from a place, and it will get to the point where like, oh, that person's Christian still, like that's like, you can everyone that's met us to be like, they say they can tell, they're like, that's the person.
I think sometimes like you can put on things, like I get up today and I'm putting on my jumper, my jeans, my Christian hat, and my other all my other things. And I think I don't know, for me, as I've gotten older, like I can be a bit exhausting. So you just want to exist in the world and be where you're at, and you understand that you're on a journey, in all things, as a human, as a Christian, as a woman, as all, and I know that I want to be where I am, and not add another layer of trying to be who other people would like me to be, and that becomes more important than me being overtly saying the right things, or being Christian enough, or being right or enough for all people in whatever section of society you're in. You just think, actually, I'm learning to exist as who I am, and I'm not always right. I'm not always wrong, but I'm on a growth journey, isn't it? So I think that's part of the process.
And I think the more pressure that you put on yourself as well to kind of like be and do all these things, I think it's just the more that you're just more likely to miss it. And I think there's a beauty in just being and just allowing yourself to go through that journey. Before I even forget, Loretta, managing, how did you get into it? How did you decide you wanted to be one? And what, we'll start with those two, because we're gonna get into it. But yeah, how did you decide that managing was your thing?
Well, reluctantly at first. I didn't want to be a manager. So I worked at a radio station doing an unsigned show. So I met loads of independent artists because it was something I was really passionate about, and I would interview so many, usually fairly young artists who were really talented, and they would come in with their music, and they'd play their music, and I'd do a quick interview, and we'd inevitably have a longer chat off air than the interview, where I would say, "This is great, guys. Like, what are you going to do next?" And they'd be like, "Oh, well, I hadn't really thought of that." And they'd put all of their, the bit they know to do as the art is to create the music. And I just thought it was always such a shame that they just didn't have some kind of plans for more people to hear this. And part of having the radio show was one tiny corner so that people could have their first radio play when they wouldn't necessarily get played anywhere else. But I really enjoyed connecting people. I used to meet so many artists like this show, from being not having one like it. Then I got so many demos all the time, so it was very easy for me and gave me a lot of joy to say, "Oh, you should work with this person, or you should meet this person." And then, funnily enough, it was actually Governor B, who was a friend of mine, and he said to me, "You'd make a really good manager, because you love to connect people, give them a little plan." And I went, no, I'm a creative. I'm a creative myself. I was still singing at the time, more for fun. But I just didn't see myself in that sort of in charge, organisational type person. And he kept sort of almost teasing me about it. And then there was one week when he and then two other people said, "You'd make a really good manager."
Yeah, you can't even run from those ones.
Guys, it's not me. It's not me. I just enjoy mentoring.
Yeah.
And it was Gov who said, "Well, surely a good manager should be a mentor." And I was like, "Oh, I suppose so." So I kind of had to change it in my head to see it as to not call it a manager. And then I'd interviewed Joshua Luke Smith on my radio show, and I just thought he was an incredible person. Everyone who meets Josh thinks he's an incredible person, don't they? It's hard to not be impacted just by who he is, let alone his artistry. And interestingly, he'd said that a few people had asked to manage him, and he really felt like no. And I was like, "Oh, right." Yeah, I was just a radio presenter at that point. But I really thought he was great, really championed him on my show, would, retweet gigs and stuff. So we kept in touch that way. And then this same week that Gov had been teasing me about a manager and somebody else, I got an email from Josh saying, "I don't know how you feel about this. You never even mentioned," because we went for a coffee after and spoke about our visions. And my vision was to be a Christian in the mainstream and to see support artists who were doing that. And he said, ever since we met, I've just been really impacted, and I've never wanted a manager. I just wondered I don't even know if it's a thing, but have you ever even thought about management? I was like, this is really weird, because just this week. So I started initially working with Joshua.
Yeah.
And I honestly felt like I was making it up as I was going along. And I still feel like that today. But everyone I meet in the music industry, spoiler, everyone feels the same. Everyone feels like they're making up to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But really, all the different things that I'd done in my life, like I'd worked as a dancer, a session singer, I'd been in a signed band, I'd been an independent artist, I'd been a radio host, I'd been an event host. Funny enough, all of those different roles, I feel, were equipping me for being a manager, because today's manager has to know a bit of everything. It's not how it used to be. So ironically, I feel like everything in my life was leading up to that. And I honestly, I mean, I say it all the time, feel like I'm doing my dream job. So it wasn't long after that then Gov asked me, he didn't want a manager, and I still wasn't sure about managing. So he just asked me to co-partner. We wouldn't even call it management with his album, Hands Are Made for Working. And of course, that was the album that he really broke into new ground, and we loved working together. It's going to be just that project. We were both really clear, just this project. And then, what was it, 5 years later? Yeah. We kind of made it official along the way. We just found ourselves working on the next album. And then I think, B, were you in between then or around the same? I think initially,
thought I was before Gov.
Maybe it was before Go.
Just a little bit.
And again, it
was just like a...
Can you just help me with this tour?
Yeah.
And it was just booking a tour. Don't mind doing that.
And we were driving somewhere. I was like, well, that went really well. Would you be my manager? He was like, let me think about it.
And the thinking about it for each of them was imposter syndrome on my behalf. Can I do this? Can I really see it as a privilege and an honour. Can I help this person genuinely get to their dreams? Will I do a good enough job? And all of those things. But all of them, there's been that heart connection there, as well as me just thinking they're incredibly talented and really being able to see where they can go with that. And then Jake Isaac was last in the fold, and again, I've known Jake for years, and all of the guys know Jake as well. But before making that decision, because initially I said no to Jake. That's the other unique thing. All of my artists have asked me to manage them rather than me going to them. And I just felt like I was at full capacity. And this is the kind of relationship I have with my artists. And we are a bit weird that we're a bit of a family, aren't we? And I know that's not normal for most management situations. Yeah. But I individually went to all of them as my artists, but also as my friends, and said, what do you think about me managing Jake? Is this going to change the dynamic? And is there room for, how do you feel about it? So it was almost a group. If any one of them had really been like, I don't think this is the right thing, I genuinely would have said no. And I had said no, and then it came round again, and only because of leaving that space to think about it and being challenged about just like stretching the tent pegs, really. So I started working with him at the end of 2019, not knowing the world was about to fall apart in 2020. And I probably wouldn't have had the guts to do it if I knew what was coming. But that was the year that I also went full-time into management. Yeah.
In those early days as well, did you feel like an extra pressure, or more than you would normally, to kind of make the right decisions for those that you were kind of representing? Did you feel like an extra pressure? Or
I always feel that pressure, but in a good way, I think. Like, I never want to think it's nothing. Like, it's not, you're not just it's like looking after someone's children, and it's a really important thing. And it's their vision. Like, I'm the manager, but it's their artistry, it's their dreams. So I want them to be successful, and I don't want to do anything that's going to hinder that or miss an opportunity. I absolutely feel that, but in a good way. But also, again, there's lots of different ways that you can manage, and different styles of relationship with all of my artists. It's very a partnership basis. So I'm as led, if not more, by their desires. Like, I know you get some managers that are like, this is what we're going to do, and especially if they're developing someone. One of the reasons why I can so clearly could always see the paths for each of my artists is because all of them so know who they are as an artist. Like, they are so authentically themselves. I feel like that's their strength. I feel any artist, when they know their why and who they are, they're ready to go. And I know what to do with an artist like that. Others are like, oh no, I'll help you to find out what your music is. And because of that, most of the ideas come from them. They're the creatives. I just find a way to make it happen. And when they're like, I want to do this thing, but can I do it? I lend them my courage and bravery and belief because I genuinely do believe in them. But most of the effort comes from them, and that's how it feels to me. I'm just here to fan this flame that comes from them already.
I even feel that you should manage that. Literally, that's really awesome. As we kind of head to the last bits of the conversation, we'll start over with Bianca. What does the rest of the year look like for you?
I'm in the middle of recording an EP, which is it's really fun. It's really going well now. I've got a few songs. I'm like, I really like them. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is coming together nicely. The rest of the year looks like that, and just doing as much live as I can do. Live shows is where like I find the most joy, and like it feels like where I'm realizing purpose, and in that I'm connecting with people, and like I'm literally in the place where I can communicate as effectively as I think that I can, and I can feel, I get that feedback, and I can see the connection, I can feel the connection. So just leaning a lot into that, and I think that's, from a career perspective, musically, that's where the rest of the year is for me.
Loretta, what does the rest of the year look like for you?
Very busy. So I had this weird summer where I was like, shouldn't I be doing something? Like, just had all this space, but this feels really weird. Bang. And all four of my artists are in the stage that Bianca just described. So just finishing up projects that are going to be released either the end of this year or into next year.
Very exciting.
So that's really exciting, but it also means this is the part that nobody sees at this stage is the planning the campaigns, getting all the different moving parts together. So this is where I'm needed the most, and doing that for four. So it's as soon as it hits September, it's certainly hitting the road running. So incredibly busy, but also really exciting. And one of my favourite parts of the process really is when you're getting songs sent to you that are nearly finished, and you're hearing them for the first time before anyone else, and just reminding me why I love these artists so much. So really busy getting ready for releases towards the end of the year and next year, all of them. So
cannot wait. we are. And before we sign off properly, how can people keep up with what you're doing on the podcast, from a personal perspective? How can we keep up with you social media wise? Socials?
I'm mostly on Instagram, and when I say mostly, that's a very loose term. So it's that Bianca Rose, and I'm independent is at We Are Independent Artists. Almost forgot.
Cool. And Loretta?
Mainly Instagram. I have got a Safe Music one, but to be honest, I mainly post on my personal one, Loretta Andrews, and all my squares are filled with my artist stuff, and occasionally my dog.
No, awesome. Thank you so much. That's kind of us here. All that's left is to thank these guys for the conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like I've just downloaded so much, and I love it. So I can't wait for this to come out so I can listen to this again and just download it again, which is fine. But before I say my goodbyes, you know what I'm about to say. Pause the video if you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment if it's first, second, success, Bianca, Loretta, whatever, comment. Algorithm loves that. Make sure you're liking it as well, sharing it to somebody if you love what you heard, which you will. If you're on Spotify or Apple Music, if you would just give us that pleasure of giving us 5 stars, that would be awesome. And TikTok and Instagram are the places to find us at the RGS Podcast for song recommendations, for chart updates, for behind the scenes content, and many, many more things. So all that's left to say is thank you guys for listening. It's been good vibes. So say less, don't stress, and God bless. Peace. And that's that.
You are now listening to Redefine Gospel Sounds.
What's good, guys? We've got special edition of Quickfire because obviously there's two people, and so 2 sets for Quickfire. And yeah, you guys know the drill by now, so we're just gonna get straight into it. And yeah, you guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So first is favorite Bible verse. Don't need to quote it, just chapter, verse.
Romans 13, verse 15.
Cool.
For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and give you a future.
10 and 11. Cool. Next is a song that you're loving right now. Can be anything from anyone.
There's a song called The Thrill of Loneliness. Don't know who it's by. I can't remember who it's by because I just discovered
That's
her.
fine.
But it's really, really great.
Cool. She's giving you an extra 5 seconds there.
Yeah.
Let me
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this one, but I've just had a sneak peek of Jake Isaac's new album, and there's a song on there that I love, which I won't say what it is yet, it's not been released, but I'm loving that at the moment.
Cool. Next is the biggest lesson on your faith journey so far.
To concentrate on me and God and not what that looks like to other people.
For me, is that I'm loved in all situations, scenarios, wherever I am. If I'm in the dirt, if I'm on a mountaintop, I'm loved.
Cool. Next for Bianca, your favorite song that you've released so far.
I don't know. Favorite song that I've released so far. I'm liking my unreleased stuff more than my released.
Yeah, that's what everybody
my favorite song
says.
that I've released, I don't know. Monsters. That was a good tune.
Cool. This one is just for Loretta. Your favorite moment in music so far
Overall.
as a manager. Sorry.
Okay, a bit left field, but last year we went on a little retreat, me and my artists, and just for 2 days, and it was really special. And I was like, I know we've got something unique, and it wasn't necessarily an outwardly music thing, but that really meant a lot to me and marked something that I've wanted to build.
Bianca, your go-to song recommendation. Like if I was to come to you and say, put me on.
To be honest, she's great at them. She's always recommending good ones.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have anything at the top of my head. I'm trying to think of my playlist that I've been putting things on.
An artist. Give me an artist.
An artist.
Who did you go and see live with your sis? You were telling me they were great. Female singer.
Oh, this is so not.
This is a
fire.
big thumbs
So
down. I must
I
say.
need to look at my Spotify.
I
thing.
must
Can
say,
quickly
this is a
look?
big thumbs down.
Just let me look real
as
quick.
she's looking, Loretta, do you have one? Do you have a go-to song recommendation or go-to artist recommendation that
You know who
like
I've got back into recently, who went really quiet for ages, and I thought he was amazing. He's just about to release again. Is Quabs. Do you know
Is he
Quabs?
going to release again? Is he?
He's been
Oh.
teasing.
fair
Went
enough,
so
fair
quiet,
enough.
and I thought he'd walked
I
away
thought
from
he's
music,
done.
and
I
I was
literally listened to his
gutted.
song the other day, like Perfect
Perfect
Storm, and I was like, it's sad that he doesn't do any music anymore. Oh, that's good news.
Yeah, so
I like Anais. You know. Oh, she's vibes.
Yeah.
She's vibes. I like her whole album.
Cool.
But This Is No Longer a Dream, but Be Alright is a tune.
Fairs. Next for both of you, starting with Loretta, something that you'd like Christians to do better.
I mean,
be real about their struggles.
oh, that's what I was going to say.
It
It wasn't what I was going to say, but that's what I want to say.
That's okay. We can take a
That's the
review.
same as copying.
Well, yeah, I did copy. I think that's a good copy, though.
Okay, that's a good copy, to be fair. And lastly, what is something that you'd like to ask God if you were sitting in the middle of both of you? One question that you'd like to ask.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
That is hard. So you do know I always
One
allow.
question to
I'm
ask
gracious.
him.
Yeah.
Can you take me to heaven now?
First, that's a good
I
one.
think mine would be, am I all right? Have I done all right? I honestly think that's probably the first thing I would say.
That is pretty fair. Because I always ask that and I just don't know what I would say. So fairs. But no, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.